I'm Tom Fleischner. I teach environmental studies at Prescott College in northern Arizona. I'm involved in the Natural History Network, and I was the co-founder of the North Cascades Institute with Saul Weisberg. Probably close to 30 years ago, there was a group of 5 friends who were all sort of converging on the idea of becoming teachers in the wilderness and sort of working with people in wild places, trying to help connect them to landscapes. And increasingly, the landscape that was drawing all of us and focusing our attention was the North Cascades, which is really one of the most powerful landscapes any of us have ever seen. And so more and more that idea got focused on the North Cascades and went through a few permutations, but finally emerged as the North Cascades Institute 25 years ago. For the first 3 years of the organization, there was just 2 employees, Saul and myself as co-directors. When I left, we hired 1 new person, and it wasn't until after I'd left that there even was a 3rd employee. So it was an incredibly different organization. Our office at that time was 1 desk donated by the North Cascades National Park in Cedro Woolley, which was an upgrade from the first year when we didn't even have a desk and we would use the desk of whoever was absent that day. So it was very humble beginnings, and again, would not have been possible without the good graces of North Cascades National Park, and the Park Service has been a great partner. Well, the North Cascades are powerful. Trying to understand that is perhaps the work of a lifetime, but part of it is the scale, the vast protected area, the vast wildness, and the scale of that extending for literally hundreds of miles, and entire watersheds and entire ranges of mountains or glacier-covered peaks in deep forest valleys, and the sort of intactness and overall ecological health of the region, and the fact that it's large enough that one can continue to explore in the area and continue to go to new places and see new things literally for the rest of your life. And that there's something about the North Cascades and about these kind of mountains in this part of the world along the Pacific Rim and close to the coast, and glaciers and big, huge forests, and the sort of interconnection between mountains very close to the coast and interfingering bays along tidewater nearby. There's just something very magical about that. So, big part of what has made the North Cascades Institute really, really special and unusual is its incredibly deep commitment to doing field-based natural history in place. And by natural history in this sense, I mean that in a broad, expansive sense, as a essential attentiveness to the more than human world, people and the rest of nature, plants, animals, birds, glaciers, etc. And to do that through every mode of understanding and mode of communication. So we might have an institute program that's focused on the science of glaciology, looking at glaciers and change over time. We might have a program that is focused on poetry in the North Cascades. We might have a watercolor class, but even more than that, I think one of the things that has typified the Institute is many of those things tend to happen all together and are integrated together, so that in the course of talking about this beautiful coniferous forest, there might be a Japanese poem slipped in that it resonates with, and there's art, and there's science, and there's humanities, and it's all woven together in such a deep way that is incredibly unusual and incredibly important. You know, when we used to start out on the first couple of years of the Institute, Saul and I would go to all the different field seminars and talk a little bit about the Institute, and we would always say, among the other things we would say about the Institute is, what we're really trying to do here is change the world. And I think that is still true, and it's been happening in a really, really wonderful way, and in a way that is not confrontative as so many efforts to change the world are, but is in a way that is based on love rather than based on fear, as so much political action is. And this would not be, the North Cascades Institute doesn't do political action per se, but ultimately in terms of changing people's values and changing people's perspective on the world, in a very broad sense, I would consider that the best sort of political work. So, what we tend to call nature as separate from ourselves is what, for most of the history of humanity on Earth, has just been the neighborhood. And we haven't usually in the past, humans haven't made a distinction between those. And as the more and more that we've separated ourselves in that kind of way, we lose an incredibly essential part of our own humanity and our own sort of grounding as who we are. And so the practice of natural history, which is the practice of attentiveness to the whole world, which is fostered by the Institute, helps us understand our place in the world. It gives us context for who we are. It helps make us more in touch, I believe, with the beauty of the world. It helps us fall in love with the world, essentially. And you know, my own experience over many years is that people who practice natural history, who practice this attentiveness, this immersion in the bigger world, tend to be actually more well-adjusted, they're happier, they have a more sort of affirmative view of the world, less alienated. And so I think it's incredibly important for a whole variety of reasons, some of which from a very selfish human standpoint are just, it makes us happier and better people. Well, North Cascades Institute is a really special organization, not only for what it accomplishes, and I refer to it regularly to people that I'm talking about in other parts of my professional life as the state-of-the-art environmental education organization that I know of. So it's the quality and the type of work that it does, but I would say almost equally important is the way that it does it, and the fact that as an organization itself, it is incredibly healthy. It values its employees, the people love working here. It's a really dynamic and healthy organization that I think has, over the years, has seeded many other organizations and many other great endeavors that have sort of gotten their grounding in how to do good work of environmental education here at the North Cascades Institute. The next 25 years will be fascinating to watch here as elsewhere. I mean, the huge overarching challenges that we all have in the world, wherever we are enormous right now in terms of human relationship with the rest of the world in the face of climate change and social injustices of many kinds and whatnot. And so all of those kinds of issues that affect everywhere in the world will undoubtedly come and be felt and are felt here. And the Institute will, I'm confident, continue to adapt to incorporating those kind of things. I think are already doing a really good job of that in a number of ways. But it's this kind of work, you never feel like you're done and you've got it all figured out and you just continue doing the same thing over and over. So there'll be a necessity to continue a really creative approach. But that's a great thing, because I would say that's one of the hallmarks of the North Cascades Institute, is an incredible sense of creativity and sort of nimbleness in terms of programming and ideas and not getting stuck in a formula. But what those specifics will be, you know, we're all only guessing. Seeing the Institute today, 25 years later, with a whole staff of dozens of people, highly qualified people in multiple sites and specializing in different kinds of ways, it's phenomenal for me to see. And I would say beyond my dreams, but I think maybe more accurate to say it's sort of a fulfillment of my dreams when we started this. So.